Hello, everyone, and welcome to our video podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the article we developed during our practicum experience, where we reflected on English teaching in both face to face and virtual learning environments. During this conversation, we will share some of the main findings we discovered throughout the practicum process, especially those related to student participation, speaking confidence, emotional support, and the challenges we experienced while teaching online classes. We also want to discuss how these experiences helped us reflect on our teaching practices and understand the importance of adaptability, communication, and student interaction in English learning environments. So, here I am with my classmates Angélica María González Toro, Ana Sofía Restrepo Chacón, Laura María Fula Forero, Juan Carlos López Bravo, and me, John Edward Zambrano Niebles. Okay, so with that being said, let's start talking about the introduction with my classmate Angelica. So, Angelica, thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. First of all, I'm going to talk about the abstract of our research article. Okay, so the transition from in-person practicum experiences to online EFL teaching environments is the focus of this article, analyzing reflective practice, particularly the impact of vocabulary scaffolding, gamification, and role play techniques on students' oral participation and confidence. And also through these collaborative practicum experiences, developed in our virtual English classes. Challenges that arose included lack of participation, anxiety to speak, and little interaction by comparing previous in-class practicum experiences to current online practicum activities. And this study examines how digital mediation impacts classroom interaction, lesson planning, and students' engagement. Also, these findings from this study suggest that online teaching requires more explicit instructional planning and a stronger pedagogical mediation to ensure that students maintain participation and motivation too. Some examples of these successful strategies for improving students' oral confidence and willingness to participate include guide vocabulary scaffolding, gamified activities, interactive digital technology, and role playing in collaborative groups. Additionally to this, adaptability, emotional support, and meaningful interactions in virtual learning environments were highlighted as essential to the success of teaching and learning for all our students. Now we have here some keywords like online learning, English language teaching, speaking skills, student participation, and educational technology. Okay, please. Juan Carlos, could you move to the next slide? Okay, guys, so we have here the introduction, okay? And in this section, we present the objectives of the study, focus on understanding the challenges and adaptations faced by EFL teachers in the transition from in-person classes to virtual environments, as well as the role of reflective practice in improving online teaching. Okay, now we have here the objectives of our study. The first one was to analyze the main challenges faced by EFL teachers during the transition from in-person to virtual environments, identifying technological, pedagogical, and communicative barriers. The second one was to examine the fundamental role of reflective practice as a tool for teacher adaptation, evaluating how self-assessment and critical reflection promote continuous improvement in an online teaching. Okay, so this study aims to provide insights into effective strategies and reflective practices that enhance oral participation and learner confidence in virtual English classrooms. Okay, guys, that's all. So we are going to continue with our partner, Camila. So please, Camila, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the theoretical framework and literature review. So in this one, we focus on how speaking skills in English as a foreign language can be developed in virtual classrooms, especially with the support of ICT tools, AI tools, and of course, student motivation. So first, online learning plays like an important role because it gives students access to multimedia resources and allows them to learn more independently. However, it is important to highlight that technology shouldn't be used just to entertain. It needs to have a clear pedagogical purpose that supports meaningful learning. And that's what we put into practice in our sessions. So in terms of motivation, this is a key factor because students participate more when activities are connected to real life situations, when they are interactive and creative, and when they match their interest with their needs. In this way, communicative tasks like games or guided vocabulary activities help students improve their fluency, confidence, and participation in English. So that's what we need to pay attention to in terms of involving technology in there. Also, let's move to the next slide, please. Yeah. On the other hand, Vygotsky, sociocultural theory explains that students can learn better through interaction and guided support, with key concepts like learning happens through social interaction and cultural tools such as language and technology. And according to this theory, he introduces the concept of zone of proximal development, which means that students can achieve more when they receive guidance from the teacher. And in virtual classrooms, this support can be seen through scaffolding strategies such as visual aids, contextualized examples, and guided speaking practice. These strategies are very important because online learning can sometimes make students feel less confident or anxious when speaking. So right here, we're working specifically on motivation. So overall, this theoretical framework shows that when we combine motivation, technology, and teaching support, students can become more confident, independent, and effective speakers in English. So let's move on to the next part with Anna.
Okay, so how was our process of methodology? So first, we used a qualitative and contrastive reflective methodology, which means that we analyzed and compared our teaching experiences into different contexts, face-to-face and online pedagogical practice. So the main purpose was to understand how our teaching practices change when moving from traditional classroom to virtual environments, and to identify both challenges and opportunities for professional growth. Our reflective process was collaborative. As a group, we engaged in systematic dialogue and critical analysis, which help us to identify similarities, differences, and important pedagogical insights from our experiences. So to organize the analysis, we compared key variables such as lesson planning, teaching resources, classroom interaction, assessment strategies, and the challenge that we faced in both contexts. The main sources of information that we use were lesson plans, field journals, teaching records, group discussions and academic literature will help us to support our reflections theoretical. And finally, we followed a reflective cycle with first we describe our experiences and then we compare them, try to reflect on them, interpreting our own insights, our own comments, or what we used to happen on a virtual environment or what we did in our previous pedagogical practice. We compared these experiences with author reference and general um, uh, theoretical literature, and finally we draw up our pedagogical conclusions. So this whole process helps us to strengthen our teacher adaptability, digital competence, and professional identity in our pedagogical growth. So now we will continue to our partner, John.
Okay, Anna, thank you so much. Well, talking a little about findings and discussions as a part of our article. One thing we noticed during the practice was that both face-to-face and virtual classes had basically the same goal, which was getting students to participate more in English. The interesting part was seeing how different that process became depending on the environment. In presential classes, participation usually happened more naturally. Students reacted faster, interaction flowed better, and communication felt less forced. While virtual classes were more complicated, sometimes because participation depended a lot on how the activity was planned and also on how comfortable students felt during the session. And sometimes that really caught our attention was students' confidence when speaking English online. During some Microsoft Teams classes, for example, there were moments where only one student participated actively while the others stayed quiet almost the whole session. Most of the time, it was not because they did not understand the topic, but because they felt insecure about pronunciation or afraid of making mistakes while speaking. So, that experience helped us realize how important emotional support becomes in virtual classes. And we noticed that students participate more when they felt supported instead of corrected all the time. And small things like giving simple questions, helping with vocabulary, or encouraging them before speaking made a big difference during the activities. Well, I would say the practicum also taught us that lesson plans cannot always stay exactly the same, especially in virtual environments, because sometimes activities needed changes in the middle of the class because students got confused and lost attention or the instructions were too long. So we had to adapt constantly and think quickly about that could help students participate more. And at the end, one of the biggest conclusions we reached was that virtual teaching requires much more intentional support, motivation, interaction, emotional support, and clear communication became essential during online classes. Well, that would be all from our findings and discussion section. Now, I would like to give the floor to my classmate Juan Carlos, who is going to talk about the conclusions and recommendations of our article. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, John and partners for your contribution about our article. These are the some conclusions. And the first is in the virtual environments, quality, dynamics, and interaction depend on excellent instructional design. Snousey and Radwan 2020 said, argue that in digital environments, interactions depends directly on the quality of instructional design. Yes, it's very important to say that as educators, we have an absolute obligation to identify the needs of our students, create and innovate and creative designs that guarantee strong students and persons in learning. Interaction through engaging resources greatly improve participation and oral fluency oral young people. And the second conclusion, when the teacher provides the class with clear support elements and structure for students, they find the necessary resources to participate and strengthen their confidence. About this conclusion, I can say that to achieve this important goal, we must take the initiative to train ourselves and improve of our learning in the use of digital resources. There are hundreds of tools and platforms to provide us with a world of visual and auditory content that help us strengthen our teaching and ensure a quality education for our students. In the third conclusion, we have an effective and coherent lexical framework is built, aligned with the real life situation and supplemented with the vocabulary bank, clear opening phrases and contextualized examples. A bridge is created between the passive knowledge and the beginning of the class and effective and participatory oral production. About this conclusion, I can say that, for example, regarding research processes, yes, it's crucial to consult the theoretical frameworks that support our projects and align that knowledge with real-world context that satisfy the students' interest in learning through the existing the theories or different studies, adapting them our specific context. Yes. And finally, in conclusion, Velasco 2025 said, finding gamified activities, possibility, impact fluency, motivation, and participation in online classes. And therefore, this evidence supports the approach of combining the linguistic structure with the meaningful and dynamic tasks that foster reflective learning. About this, finally, it is important to have good digital resources, tools that allows us to blend the traditional learning with meaningful and creative learning. Some recommendations. The first is systematically incorporate a lexical framework that facilitates immediate connection with the topic presented in class. The second, innovate resources with clearly defined roles and situation in real-world contexts of interest of to students. Integrate gamify elements into classes without making them repetitive and ensuring they always capture student attention. Foster reflection and emotional connection to encourage participations and adopt a reflective collaborative practice with planned methods to strengthen the data collections through observation for file notes and other resources. Based on the finding, it's good to incorporate the following the before the recommendations to ensure that the teaching we provide of is high quality and strengthening communicative understanding and the development of classroom activities. And finally, My recommendation we must give our student confidence is an effectiveness of our teaching while and I think in the before the start the class is very important verify our connection internet connection. I don't know for example the different links open correctly. The idea is that we don't have problems in our session. This is the different reference that we use in our article. And this is all for our explanation about our article. Thank you so much. Thank you, partners.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.